Hi everyone and welcome back to Cooking with Joshua Lockdown Edition. Now you know that I love to cook with leftovers and tonight I'm going to cook the king of leftover dishes, shepherd's pie. So let's get started and run through the ingredients. First thing you're going to need is 500 grams of good quality mince. I'm using beef mince, however traditionally for a shepherd's pie you'd use a lamb mince, so that's fine as well, but tonight we're using a beef mince. Potatoes, of course, you cannot have a shepherd's pie without a creamy, cheesy mashed potato on the top. Some tomato paste, some dried rosemary, I have some fresh thyme. I'm using 2 small onions, however, if you have 1 large onion, that's fine as well. 3 cloves of garlic, a cup of frozen peas, 3 sticks of celery, 2 carrots, some Worcestershire sauce, and a cup of beef stock. If you're using lamb mince, I'd suggest using a chicken stock or a vegetable stock. However, it's all about leftovers, so whatever you have in your cupboard will be fine. And of course, some red wine. You don't traditionally add red wine with a shepherd's pie, however, I'm gonna pour myself a glass, so I thought, let's cook with a little bit of it as well and make it extra rich and delicious. So, first things first, let's clear this away and get cracking on the mashed potato. Potatoes are peeled, now let's chop them up and get them into some boiling water. Next thing we want to do is dice up the onion and mince the garlic and get that into a pan and saute that off. Now while the onions and garlic are in there, I'm also going to add a little bit of thyme. This is fresh thyme, however, you can use dry if you like. I love the smell of thyme. And in a dish like shepherd's pie, it's a must. Also, to that, I'm going to add about a teaspoon of rosemary. If you have fresh rosemary, that's even better. I don't have any, so I'm using dried. Now I want to cook that down for about 5 minutes, just until it's nice and fragrant. While that's doing its thing, let's chop up our celery. I have 3 stalks, pieces of celery. I'm just going to chop those up. And let's dice the carrot as well. I'm not peeling the carrot, because I don't think you need to. But if you want to, you can. Celery and carrot is all chopped up, so let's add that to the onions and garlic. Now, to the carrots, celery, onion, garlic, and herbs, we want to add our 500 grams of mince, whatever you are using, lamb or beef. Break that down with your spatula, and we just want that to brown. Now, while our beef is browning, it would be a good time to open a bottle of wine. To cook with, of course. Now, just to make sure that it is okay, we should taste it before we cook with it. So today we are cooking with a Shiraz Cab from Penfolds. Cheers. Yes, 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 that will do nicely. Our beef is browned perfectly. Now, if there's a little bit too much moisture, you can drain that off before you add any of the other liquids, because you don't want it to be too runny. We want to build up a really nice, thick, rich gravy. So to the mixture, we're going to add a 1.5 tablespoons of tomato paste. You know what? I've actually probably got 2 tablespoons here, and I don't want to put 1/2 tablespoon back in the fridge. I want to use that up, so I'm using 2 tablespoons. I know, jet.
It wasn't me.
We're also going to add a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Now, let's add 1 cup of stock. As I said before, I've got beef stock, but you can use whatever stock you like. Another little mix. And I'm going to add a good dash of red wine, just for good measure. Great, our pie filling is just about done. Most of the liquid has cooked off, which is great. We're starting to get that really nice consistency of that gravy sauce. Now, we're going to add the peas. That's the last stage. So that's a cup of peas. Give it a mix. Let's add a pinch of salt and a good crack of black pepper. Now, I've drained the potatoes, but I like to pop them back into the pan, back onto the stove, no heat, and just let them dry out. We want all that liquid, all that water to evaporate before we start to mash, because that's the secret to getting a really nice creamy mash. We don't want the potatoes to be waterlogged. So let's give that a little bit of time. The mixture is off and cooling. That's totally fine because we're going to pop it back in the oven. Let's have a wine and check back later. Potatoes have cooled completely and there is no more moisture, so first thing I like to do is mash them before I add anything else and get as many of the lumps out as possible. So grab your masher and start mashing. Okay, so potatoes are 90% mashed. Still a few little lumps, but that's okay. We will get to those at the end. What we want to do now is add some butter. So, I have 100 grams of butter. I'm just going to chop that up because it will melt quicker. Pop it into the potatoes. So they're cool, but they're not cold. There's still enough heat in there to melt the butter. Now, take a wooden spoon and push that potato and the butter up against the sides, kind of like you're whisking, but with a spoon. You can use an electric beater, like a hand mix, a stab mix, a band mix if you like, but there's something really therapeutic about mashing potatoes. Get all your anger, all your frustration out. And, of course, this is the way that my nana did it. And my mum does it. So, I follow their lead because their potatoes were always delicious. Perfect. The butter has melted all the way through. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of milk. If I had cream, I'd probably add cream, but I don't have any cream, so I'm going to add a little bit of milk. What I did find in the fridge though is some sour cream. So there's probably about a tablespoon in there. I'm going to add that because everything is always better with a little bit of sour cream. You still get the creaminess of cream, a little bit of the bitterness of the sour cream. And you know what? May as well add it because otherwise it's going to go to waste. And we can't have that because it's all about cooking with leftovers. So let's stir that sour cream through. Oh, yes. Let's add a little bit of milk. I'm just using a whole cream normal milk. You can add a light milk if you like, or a skim milk. I don't know why you would really, but if you're a skinny latte kind of person. Okay, no more lumps, no more bumps in this mashed potato. I am going to add a little pinch of salt. I'm not going to add pepper because I only have black pepper, and that is going to speckle my creamy mashed potato with black speckles, and I don't want that. So if I had white pepper, I would add white pepper, but I don't have any, so I'm not going to add it. It'll still be fabulous because we're going to sprinkle so much cheese over the top of this before we bake it. You're not even going to know. Okay, mashed potato is done. We are ready to start assembling this delicious shepherd's pie. We've got our pie filling, the gravy is perfect, creamy mashed potatoes. So next thing we need to do, find a dish that's going to be big enough to fit your shepherd's pie in. This is one that I'm using. It's a 2-litre, actually. I just read that upside down. It's actually a 2-litre Pyrex dish. So that's what I'm going to use, but you can use whatever you like. Okay, let's start assembling. First thing we need to do is get our delicious gravy pie filling in to this dish. Pie filling fits perfectly, thank you. Okay, now, with the mashed potato, I just want to pile it on very, very roughly, because I still want to get those peaks. I want to get a little bit of space between the mashed potato, because we want to sprinkle it with cheese. We want some of the tops of that mashed potato to become a little bit crisp. So I don't want to flatten it all down and make it, you know, super pretty. Now, we just want to rough that up with the back of a fork to the edges, but still having a couple of little gaps. And roughing it up is how we are going to get some of that potato to crisp up on the top, and it's going to get all the cheese in the little cracks. Perfect. Sprinkle with cheese. I'm using a mix of mozzarella, cheddar, and parmesan, just because I think things are better in threes. Perfect. Now that is going into a preheated oven at 200 degrees for about 35 minutes until it starts to bubble and sizzle, and it is going to be delicious. And we are nearly ready. Let's just take a moment for this. Listen to that cheese bubbling away, the crispy potato. See how we roughed it all up? And we're getting little burnt crispy bits on top. So good. Quick tip, you are going to want to put a tray underneath because when it boils over, it will make a mess of your oven. So do what I did, put a tray underneath. And we are ready. This is going to be so delicious. I like to finish it off with a sprinkle of parsley, which I have finely chopped up, just for a bit of green, nothing else really. And I'm going to serve it at the table, just like that, with some tomato sauce, or relish if you were going to make one. I didn't, but tomato sauce. Top up your red wine. Cheers, and thanks for watching Cooking with Joshua. Dinner!